This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
This is Off the Rails Friday. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandale, David Sisboomba, and the legendary Sammy McKee. Next 2 hours, lots of fun. Of course, what is Off the Rails Friday without Doug McLean? He'll be by in the next 45 minutes. Between then and now, Gord Stellick will also join us. Leaf Nation pre- and post-game. And then Colby Armstrong in the second hour, man.
This is a classic Friday for us.
It's going to fly.
So
it's going to fly.
Do you how fast?
What a beast.
How fast do you want to get this off the rails?
Hold on. Hold on.
Yeah.
I never do this until we're up right up against it. So I'm going to tell everybody that it's Friday. So text and tweet questions will come in.
Yeah.
So warm them up.
I got a bunch.
Let
of
us
great
know.
ones so far.
Before Sammy officially derails this thing right now.
Boys, I just went out to our kitchen here in the palatial studios of Sportsnet.
Yes.
And to fill up a water bottle that I found here because there's no cups.
And you saw a mouse?
I don't know if someone brought their raccoon into the kitchen in there. The smell in the kitchen right now, boys. Holy, could gag a maggot out there.
What an expression, man.
You're not the least curious to search, to seek and search.
I walked in there, I was like, I got punched in the face with it. It was like, oh,
You know,
boy.
I ate in the cafeteria today, and they were serving fish, and I thought I won't bring that up to the desk. I'm gonna eat that down here today to spare everyone.
Okay,
So I'm
they
thinking
serve
someone wasn't as
fish.
courteous as my guess.
No, they serve fish at the calf, and you got it.
Yeah, is that why
The
is
finest
that so?
tilapia caught in Lake Ontario. What you get?
If I'm an executive upstairs right now and I'm listening to you two,
Yeah.
I'm having security usher you out right
What do you mean? I got the fish in the cafeteria. I support what's going on here.
now. You're telling everybody our building stinks and the fish is no good.
I did not comment on the quality. I
Neither
enjoyed
did I.
my fish.
What did it come with?
Artichoke and a little Mediterranean salad for a side.
Wow, not too bad.
It was good.
Was it worth
You like the juice, huh?
$29.95?
It didn't come here to be, interrogated in my lunch.
All right, we got plenty to get into, including Radim Zohorna. Did I say that right?
Pretended to know it.
Did I say that?
You did.
Radim Zahora.
Yeah.
Radim Zohorna.
What did I say?
Zahora.
Oh, Zahorna.
Will he be Zahorny on the puck on the weekend? That's what I want to know.
Well, sounds like you might play.
Yeah, the only za is going to be for the pizza he's eating in the press box, boys. I don't think is he going to get in?
Well, Simmer's sick. That's why he's called up.
Wayne Simmons is on the shelf.
Well, he's been sick, so they called up Radim on a emergency basis, and if Simmer can't go to Ottawa, you need a certain amount of forwards to play in a game. You go 11-7 or whatever, you're still short a guy. So if Simmons can't go, this guy's going.
Get him in. He's played NHL games.
Right. Would you want to hear the coach talk about him?
Well, hold
I
on.
do. First, I want to hear Kyper.
No, just did he recently come in off a trade with Hunt?
Hunt.
Correct.
He's Malgin, right? Malgin for Hunt. Hunt for Zahorna. This is new. He's 6'6". Malgin grew a foot.
He's 6'6".
Yeah.
It's like a 2-for-1.
2 players for 1. Yeah. There's a lot of person.
Okay, let's hear Sheldon Keefe on our first Off the Rails Kyper's Clipper.
I don't know a lot.
So I feel no guilt then. Start the clip again. I've derailed things. Start the clip again.
I don't know a lot.
That's it.
Because of the Simmons situation.
No, play it.
Try this
I
again.
don't know a lot. Because of the Simmons situation, it kind of crept up on us late. So he arrived here in the building late, and it was kind of rushed getting him here and sort of diverting him from Marley's practice to here. But I know when they acquired him, big guy with skill, has played in the league before in both Pittsburgh and Calgary, and so we'll see how things go throughout today and tomorrow and make a determination on the lineup. But it certainly was nice if we are going to use him that, we got him into a practice and get him familiar here. I mean, he didn't even know how to get into the building and get to this side of the building, I should say, and how to get in. So he's new for me and new for all of our staff on this side of the building. So a lot going on there with him, but it's certainly beneficial to get him into practice.
Sounds like he'll be a difference maker.
Just when you thought tryouts were over.
Well, the reason I brought this up, fellas, and the reason I put the clip in there and wanted to talk about it is feels a little thin up front for the Leafs. I know they got a couple guys out. Simmons is hurt, but Simmons is now seems to be involved a lot. Like there was a stretch there where he didn't play at all for how long did he go between games? 3 weeks where he wasn't playing at all. I know O'Reilly's hurt. I know Achari's hurt.
I think it's pretty standard now that he's just was always going to be this part-time player.
Who, Simmons?
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't you feel
like he's a little bit
thin?
more important than
Well,
he should be?
Yes.
I think they know what the guys that they have been calling up are. Like they know what Holmberg is and Steves is and Abruzzese. Like those guys still exist, right? They're still around.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think this is like, Zahorna has, this year he's actually had good numbers, guys. He's got 30 points in 40 games in the American League. At a 6'6" guy putting up 3/4 of a point a game, give him a chance. 26 years old.
So you don't
33 NHL games.
So if you don't think there's a couple injuries in a playoff game, we're seeing old Redeem in there.
I don't think there's any chance.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're.
Can we get through the weekend first of all and just see?
Well, yeah, we know more injuries. How do you protect people? Achari, O'Reilly.
Yeah, no, Charlie apparently has dealing with some whiplash, neck issues.
Oh boy, that scares me. I'll be honest.
After
that
that
makes me
weird run-in, who was it that he ran into? Pugliarvi. Remember when he had collision in the middle of the ice with Pugliarvi against Carolina? So, yeah, neck. What the next
ones that could be 10 minutes or 10 months.
You know what the neck's connected to? The head.
Yeah.
Don't like that. And for a guy that
Muzzin's a cervical spine thing from a weird head hit.
And if you want a guy that's going to be playing the way you want him to play, you want him feeling good up top.
Like he hasn't been in a car accident?
Correct.
Should we listen to Sheldon talk about an update on the lineup?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's go.
Simmons is just sick today, so we'll just see how he is throughout the remainder of the day and make a decision on whether we can or if we should get him out to Ottawa. And then Achari, his plan today was just to get back implemented with the group in the pre-practice setting and work with guys there. But there was never a plan for him to be in practice, so that was all scheduled today. And we'll just see he's not going to be available this weekend. So we'll just continue to inch him along. And again, similar to O'Reilly, different injuries, but similar in the sense that we just want to be certain that those guys are feeling 100% before back in.
It is Noel's injury.
Inch him along. Okay.
So it seems precautionary. Seems like they like to be pretty precautious. And if you're being cautious this time of year, it's good because, there's not a ton to play for.
It is interesting that they have a portion of ice time called pre-practice. Yeah, he's a part of the pre-practice. He's practicing for practice now.
Yeah, he's getting. They have 1 million employees, so they have to justify half of them. So they're like, go out there for pre-practice.
Yeah.
Clifford's still in the mix, right?
I'm just looking at their AHL lineup. He is, yeah.
Yeah.
He's on their third line.
Is he up?
No. Why did you get an indication that he might be?
No.
He hasn't been up all year.
They've got an interesting lineup. They've got that Ovchinnikov, who just came across from overseas, and Tverberg just signed from Sis's boy. I see him perk up over there from college.
From parts
They
unknown.
just signed him, yeah.
It's been interesting to watch this year with Wayne Simmons, where there's about 1,000 reasons why we thought he'd be out, but he constantly comes back in. It's not at a rate that you've seen ever before, for me anyways. I've been around this game a long time. For someone to sit on the sidelines
For like 6 weeks.
3 weeks, 4 weeks between games and then come in and play, I mean, it's unique. Maybe that's just the world of the salary cap now. A flat one albeit a flat one, but for me, it probably stems more to, I think, the players around him to say, I feel better if you put Wayne in. I think that's what's happening. That's just my guess.
Yeah.
I don't have any inside information on this, that Matthews or Marner or Riley or any of the big boys are going up to Sheldon and saying, hey, put Wayne in. We want Wayne. But I think the vibe is there.
For me, my guess is relationship management with Simmons. Like when they agreed to a 2-year, $900K deal, it was probably with some understanding that Wayne wasn't going to be the most integral part of the second half of that deal. But Wayne doesn't want to go play for the Marlies. They don't want to burn him at the end of his career. I don't know, just trying to keep him happy. And yeah, you need body sometimes. So, think Wayne Simmons has had a wonderful career. Don't want to knock him, but I'm not sure right now he's better than any of the guys, whether it's Holmberg or whoever you want to call up. I think it's just a respect out of his career.
Well, no, I think there has to be some value in there to suggest that.
Sure, he does something that other people don't
Tampa
do.
would look differently at Wayne than they would Aston Reese or anyone else, including
You'd be a fool not to.
Zohorna.
Like if you're on the ice with Pat Maroon and he's running around doing dumb stuff for
at least Wayne will go talk to him.
That's what I mean. For his 8 minutes a night, you're probably going to feel more comfortable if you have Wayne Simmons in there doing the similar thing to their guys, I would imagine.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
Anyways,
So we saw the Senators are hurting a little bit last night. I don't know if you caught any of that.
What a mess of a game that was.
Yeah.
They had Philly had 4 shots, with 10 minutes to go in the third period or something?
I was flipping around all the different games, and I wasn't paying a lot of attention to that one, and I flipped off of it when it was the shots were 34-6 with 15 minutes left in the third period. The Sens were up 4-1. I'm like, this one's done. And then I looked at it. They went, 5-4 in overtime?
Torts didn't coach. He just sat in the press box, let the assistant coach get some reps and sit with Briere.
It's a great job, eh?
Well, your team's out of it, and you're like, I'm just going to watch tonight. Front row seats.
Derek Brassard went down. Last I heard, he was in surgery.
Surgery?
Yeah.
Bad, eh?
Wow, just messed up.
Ankle? Something? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's lost. Hamonic left, never came back either. So we'll see what kind of lineup they have against the Leafs tomorrow night. As far as O'Reilly is concerned, do we think he's got the green light this weekend, or we still think he'll sit him out?
Today was his first full practice. He was wearing the red sweater. So I don't think they want any contact with him yet. So I'd be stunned if he played in any games this weekend. But
you got Ottawa and Detroit and Columbus next Wednesday. You're at home versus Columbus on Wednesday. That might be
Wednesday or Tuesday.
Whatever the 4th is.
Yeah, I think that's
Tuesday. Yeah.
So that sets up for a Kerfoot Tavares Nylander showing tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You okay with that? It's all right. All reliable.
Oh, it's worked so great in the past. Might as well go back to it.
I don't know.
Flex Seal.
I need a little Flex Seal right now.
He needs something better than Flex
And stop leaks fast.
Sounds like it depends at.
We want to go to a clip from Sheldon talking about Willie Nylander.
Yeah, I do. Let's see what he has to say.
All right.
Cool.
I think he's. I've seen signs of him, skating well and being on the puck. I think he's got a much better understanding now at this stage of his career, and certainly in this season with how it's gone for him. His understanding of what he needs to do to succeed and how to reconnect with that. So it's just a matter of him continuing to work through it.
It's
I
funny.
agree with that.
Yeah. It's funny. So I wrote an article today on managing your relationship with your coach, and just when you come off the ice, you remember Bunting.
More lunches?
What's that?
More lunches together?
I don't think so.
Maybe a movie?
Bunting comes off the ice the other day, and Keefe yells at him, and Bunting doesn't really look at him, whatever. Keefe says, that's fine. You saw Maurice lay into his guys. You saw Bonus roll his eyes at Scheifele. There is some management of that relationship with your coach. It's so different depending on who you are in the team, though. It's not house hockey. It's not equal across the board. Like McKinnon yelled at Bednar in playoffs last year. Remember, going right at him, and Bednar's like, just do your job. They were fine because he's Nathan McKinnon, but Zach Aston Reese doesn't get to yell at his coach like that because of role on the team. It's relevant, right?
Yeah, but that's been around for a long time,
It
right?
has.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there's this middle tier of guys who aren't the superstars and aren't the guys who don't matter, because those guys, you can't even bench them. The guys don't care, who are potential whipping boys. My point here is Willie used to be in that pocket, but I think Willie has become one of the superstars that doesn't take the abuse. The coach doesn't beat him up like he used to.
Well, he's been playing. He's had his best year. And the most recent thought on Willie is, hey, where you been for a dozen games right now? if he's got 2 goals, maybe.
But you're right.
Right?
But his coach says, I think he knows what to
But
do.
you're not discounting that he's had his best year of his career
sure.
so far.
That's relevant.
And numbers aside, he has never looked better than this season when it comes to his overall look, the skating,
Yeah.
and now the element of strength and power, and at times attitude. I don't know. Remember when he punched somebody or he stuck somebody behind the net?
Oh, yeah, through an elbow.
Through an elbow.
Delightful.
Just looks that we've never seen before. That automatically takes you to another level. And I think that's where Sheldon is, that he did move himself up into, you can be a star. You can be a superstar in this league. And we've seen signs of it for the first time, really, as a package.
So Willie's taken himself out of the whipping boy status. Pierre Engvall gets traded. You have to have someone as a coach. Bunting.
Well,
Bunting is now your middle 6 guy that takes abuse.
Yeah, but that I really believe too that you got to look at the big picture, and Willie's a year away from being unrestricted. Bunting also has the option of going, hey, Sheldon and I have known each other for forever, but I don't know, in 2 months does Bunting go, the guy took away my ice time. He took away my number one line.
Go play with Goodrow and line.
Why am I signing here?
Yeah.
Well, according to Frank Cervelli, he's the number 1 free agent this offseason. So,
did Frank mention that it might be? And this is not to disrespect Bunting, but it's one of the weakest UFA.
Oh, he did.
Lists,
Yes.
right? In maybe a long, long time. It's slim pickings.
If you're Bunting, you're like, oh, thank God.
I balked at the headline. He caught me with the headline. I was like, there is simply no way. And then I went and read through it, and I'm like, there's a case.
I guess there is a way.
I mean, but is he a bigger free agent than Patty Kane or Ryan O'Reilly? That's the 2 ones you wonder on. But anyways.
But I don't think, like, it's a timing issue. If you have been beating up Bunting a little bit, Sheldon's got to time this thing now, right?
There's feeling good for playoffs.
Exactly. If you've stripped them down, when is the build up here? When is the hey, we're going in the playoffs in 2 weeks here?
You guys seen how good Bunts is lately?
That has to come.
Yeah.
And you cannot hang them out to dry like this going into game 1. There has to be a turnaround of putting him in a position to succeed. I don't know if it means taking Yarncroc off a little bit, throwing him back up there with Matthews and Marner, but
it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah, I agree.
We have Gord if you want to include him.
Not yet.
Not yet?
Why is he so early?
He's joined up. He's on his brick links, his little trap and thing he's got in the basement. So he's ready to rock.
All right, let's go to him. All right.
Gordon, I'd just leave if I were you.
Why? I feel like the Michael Bunting of the show.
Gord.
I'm going on with Bunkus next year. Exclusively.
Every radio show needs a whipping boy.
Yes. Everything needs something. Everything has something. Yes.
Are you on our first line or are you on our fourth line? Which one is it?
First line, baby.
Gosh, well, I first line, damn right, and the power play, and everything like that. But it's funny you're chatting about. That's what this year is. So, first of all, I had someone last night just say Willie Nylander better not be on the third line. Like, I love Willie Nylander when they do all the lines, and then of course Michael Bunting and what have you. So these are the kind of happy, fun problems that when you're kind of hopefully coasting towards a home ice advantage in the playoffs.
So what strikes out in your mind in the next 8 games when you think about how Sheldon wants to close this season out? Is it defensive pairs first? Is it where Ryan O'Reilly fits in? It's how many road games will Samsonov get in? Where does your mind go first?
So it's like, I think probably all of us, like you're Ernie the TV repairman's son. So at Christmas you get like 2 gifts or something. Somebody else gets like 45 gifts. And 3 months later, they're trying to figure out which gift they want to play with, right? Of the 45, and you got 2, and you're really happy with them. Actually, they're good, right? So you're going, and the other person, like with the 45, can't figure it out, and that's what Sheldon Keefe has to figure it out right now about, okay, hey, they've checked all the boxes, whom they've added. How are you going to deploy everybody? Come on, please. It's not going to be 11-7, right, Kippy? No, right? Can't be.
we're saying no. I think that
Can't be. Yeah, he's pretending he likes it, even though he doesn't. And I know what works for John Cooper. I don't want to hear that. Anyway, so he's just, okay, get your lines, get whatever you want, and let's go, buddy. You don't have to, the 37 defensemen, you can't fit them all in the last 3, 4, 5 games. What do you got? Who you going with? Let's do it.
The more we talk about this lineup and we look at who has played in the absence of O'Reilly and Achari, and, Wayne Simmons has got in a couple times. You look at the American League and it's Pontus Holmberg, who they seem to have soured on a little bit. Steve Zabrzewski. Like, do you think there's a chance that Wayne Simmons is a guy playing 2-3 playoff games in the first round for the Leafs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It gives you another spice. You get like people seem to get annoyed. It's like we in Toronto, you haven't moved forward because I didn't even know Wayne Simmons was still there, and all of a sudden he plays. And that second game against Tampa Bay last year, he should have almost had a goal in the first period. Like if they would have got that first goal instead of Victor Hedman getting the sneaky one with 7 or 8 seconds left, who knows? Then unfortunately, everyone remembers, he took an ill-advised penalty and Kyle Clifford took a terrible penalty and they were gone. But he gives you another spice. So I just, that toughness part used properly and that experience part as well, it could be something you're going to need.
Gord, this time of year, for whatever reason, over the last few years, we've seen a power play head south real quick. And just watching the other night, any concerns at all against Florida where they go 0 for 4 at home?
Yeah, and again, I don't know how to quantify the word concerns. I think the extreme was that year in the Canadian division, which, let's face it, is not a whole season. It was something that was put together. They did a good job getting it all done, but Leafs had a power play that was, like one of the all-time greats, and then it really, really started going south, and actually till the start of next season for a while. So I would say, Kippy, yeah, I'm not panicking, I'm not what have you, but just I just find in the playoffs, goaltending and special teams are really important. They're always important, but they're just really important in the playoffs. And so if that's something that hasn't always fired on the appropriate cylinders. So I got to say that if you want to use the word concerned or not, that's one of the things. I mean, it's been a great regular season, okay? But, are there little things because we have a history here of things not going well, especially how the playoffs end. So I will acknowledge that, yeah, I'd rather see it all firing on all cylinders, but I'd rather see it firing on all cylinders game number 83 than, game number whatever it is now, 73, 74, 75.
Gord, it's funny how expectations for this Leafs team have evolved over the season. Going into the year, it's like, it's cup or bust, and you know how that goes. And then, there's been moments now where it's win around and everyone's happy. I actually have genuine trouble asking the question or answering the question when people ask me, like, if the Leafs lose in the second round to Boston, let's say they lose in 5 to Boston, is that enough? Do people keep, what's the success for this team? What's the bar for them to clear?
Yeah, it's funny, Justin, because I did the radio broadcast with Joe Bowen when again people talk about the pressure of playing in Toronto, and then Justin, the notoriety is the pressure. Just you can't constantly, and of course nowadays, hey, it's a whole different world with security and parking underground and all that. As far as walking out and going to Zellers when they open their new store and
right, it's back,
being recognized. Baby. Yeah. So it's because you also get your butt kissed for very little when expectations are low. So there was that rally at City Hall, I think the only time in the history of mankind for a team that lost to the LA Kings in the conference final. It was a rally, just shy of what the Raptors had when they won a championship. There was a banner put up for the Norris Division champions, which even wasn't true because they didn't win the Norris Division the regular season. But anyway, it just so much in 1993 because not much had happened. And we're kind of there again, So like one round and you get your butt kissed and all this stuff and 25-year extensions for Sheldon Keefe and Brendan Shanahan and everybody, so a lot of it, look what happened to Florida last year and look what happened to the Raptors that one year. You get smoked in 4 games, okay? And that's just a bitter, sour taste. You know, people keep forgetting the Florida Panthers did win one round of the playoffs last year, but it's how they went out. So you mentioned something in the second round about, you know, if it's Boston, which it probably would be, and you get smoked, then it could be problematic. I do think if they win and compete in the second, that guys, and again, we're not out after people's jobs. So I would think that may be acceptable. Who knows? I don't know. The bigger body of work, though, Justin, it shouldn't be acceptable considering where we were 5-6 years ago and where we expected to be in 2023 and go, yippee-ki-yay, we've won one round. Let's, no, that's not where we expected to be.
Gord, didn't they make them rings for the Norse?
Yeah.
Not really.
Rings.
Absolutely. They got rings.
No way.
They got rings.
That's embarrassing. That made me
Rings
cringe.
on their fingers, bells on their toes, everything. Got bells.
You know,
got bells as well, first time.
Speaking of the market and maybe the expectations, Matthew Nyes, we know, is going to come in. We don't know when for sure, but we know he's coming. Is it treat them no differently than any other player coming in out of the NCAA in any market, or is there an element to feeling like in this market the Leafs have to go above and beyond to make sure that this guy doesn't feel a necessary pressure to carry anything, come in, be a hero? Does this market put more pressure on Nyes?
You know, it shouldn't. And I'll tell you, like the example you'd love him to be is another very difficult market, Chris Kreider in New York, when he came and like Nyes did and then had that great playoff. And he's really the last guy who's done that comes and has a significant impact to that degree in the playoffs. So, and I know guys like Wendell, I don't know what it was like for you, Kyper, but he always said that when I was a rookie, I just, everything was just fun. You know, I really didn't feel any pressure. It was all kind of neat that there were other, you know, let's face it, you know, Nyes isn't wearing the badge of how many years without a Stanley Cup, how many years without a playoff round victory, how many consecutive years of deciding game defeats like these guys are. So there shouldn't be, and you can help make sure that's not the case, whether, you know, it's internally in that dressing room, and then you see what he can do. You know, if he's another Spice, that's wonderful. People that think, oh my God, he's coming, this is great. No, it's Matthews, Marner, you know, the goaltending, Samsonov, whatever, Morgan Riley. I mean, those are the ones that are going to be the difference makers. Those are the ones that have to be if you're going to go somewhere. But again, if he's able to inject, you know, something along the lines of being what made him a Hobey Baker finalist, then that's great. But I wonder, you know, that I always found it interesting, Wendell's line about that pressure, and I just think someone knew it should. There's pressure about your first game and all that stuff, but it still should be somewhat novel, and the pressure is really on those other people. His foot's not being held to the flames about those other losses in the past.
Gord, I wrote about it today, so I'm curious to get your take on Paul Maurice's sort of meltdown on his team, and Rick Bowness also kind of had a little eye roll at Mark Scheifele. You know, like what's reasonable from coaches? Do you have a problem with either of those behaviors?
No. I'm a big Mark Scheifele fan, but what's wrong there? 2 years in a row. I mean, I don't mean like just 2 years in a row. And let's face it, the way Paul Maurice left last year, something's really rotten in the state of Winnipeg. And you know, we talk about it as well, that you got to pick and choose. I mean, Daryl Sutter is in some ways I mean, the bloom's gone off the bud there because he's kind of played his act a little bit too often. When he, you know, talked about the guy's first career NHL game, it just seemed he jumped the shark a little bit and, you know, looked at the press sheet. And so you have to be a little bit careful. So there's no question about Winnipeg, something amiss. And I just, hey, what a bargain Scheifele is. I mean, they signed him at 8 years at 6.125, whatever. And so, yeah, no, if they get it back on, let's face it, with his contract and Hellebuck's contract and a few contracts coming up, whether they trade him so he's not a you know, like basically a free agent a year later and a distraction and what have you, we'll find out. But they got a 2-year window at best. I think the Florida Panthers, and Paul Maurice says he knew the goal was going to be called back, so he just thought it was a great time. And I don't know, and Kippy, you're on the bench, and Justin, you've been on the bench, and I don't know how much that works, you know, spewing. I think one of the best things was Keith Tkachuk's dad calling the team soft.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Keith Tkachuk calling the team soft. Matthew Tkachuk's dad. You know, you have to go, wow, this guy played a real hard. This is one of the few dads out there that walk the walk and can talk the talk. They should make him ambassador like Drake is for the Raptors or something. I don't know. Like he just, I just found that one more telling. But I just think in both cases, Justin, those guys you can only go to the well so often, and I think they were right in both cases to go to the well. But in Winnipeg, Scheifele in particular, I just what is it? What is amiss?
Talking to Gord Stellick, Leaf Nation pre and post right here on the Sportsnet Fan 590. I made a reference in yesterday's show about players now having a 1-800 number and can call anonymously if they feel like they've been, verbally abused or whatever the case is. And I'm just wondering now when you watch, Paul Maurice and, some of the more critical guys, is tough love coming back to some degree? I'll start with you first, Gord.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. So really, can the Florida Panthers call the 1-800 number after the game?
Anytime.
Yeah,
I'm surprised we didn't see a cell phone during the game.
Yeah. Just it's an interesting animal because that's been part of the game of sports, and I think rightfully so in society. Even we think of bosses that used to yell at our ass all the time, right? And generally, to me, that was a sign of incompetence. That was a sign of somebody that was in over their head. And the best people you work for, that wasn't something part of their DNA. Now, sports, there's a big part of emotion to it, and I do think tough love at times because you got 32 NHL teams. In another business, all 32 could be making money and quite successful, right? There wouldn't be, whatever. They could be in the tech business, whatever. But in sports, it's a pie, and some teams get points, some teams don't. I mean, you're competing to win, and if you don't, there's consequences, and there's jobs and other things. So I do still think, even though it's not part of our with our kids sometimes, like sometimes you even look about it, and I'm as guilty as anyone. I mean, where is it entitled? Where have we created entitlement versus, getting rid of abuse that really it was no part of society or no part of the game? I smile when I think of John Brophy, and I know he's kind of the rock age guy to think of, but you talk to people that played for him, and there's more that really think positively and even love him. They recognize his passion. That's why the way he was, right? That even though he could go off the rails times, you talked about 95% of the Purse people. He is, and so I do think I do think and that's what's tough about coaching. How do you sprinkle that into your makeup in 2023? But I still think it should be there.
Well, you lived it in this market, Gord, as a general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, where there's reality and then there's perception. And right now, let's be honest, the situation in Calgary with Daryl Sutter, the perception is every player hates him. He's too hard. It's not fun. I want to get out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
Where's the reality there?
Well, you get an Alan Walsh tweet. It wasn't wrong in Vegas with his client, Marc-Andre Fleury, right, about the goaltending situation, even though they made nice for about a year after. And when he's, like Jonathan Huberdeau, they've committed to 8 years starting next year for him. And that's his agent just, kind of throwing some things out there, which his client would be very much aware.
But when it comes to Walsh and his client, it's a small window of a picture. It doesn't represent necessarily 20 other guys.
Yeah, but you use the word perception, and that's a big word, and even though it's not always accurate, you're right about that, Kippy. Nowadays, like perception becomes reality, so that's just a piece of it that I think. And hey, you got to respect Daryl Sutter. What he did in Los Angeles, people thought they were crazy to hire him, and he won 2 Stanley Cups, and I give him all kinds of credit that way. To get back to, and whatever it may be nowadays, is if you can make it. Everyone played the game because it was fun. Right? That's why you played the game. And you got really good at the game if you made the NHL. But the more you kept having fun, that was a big part of it. And I'm not saying it's supposed to be like a McDonald's playground party or something like that, when you're 6 and go in the playroom.
Or a dog park for you.
Yeah, the dog park. Yeah, our dog. Yeah, Blue has fun in the dog park too. Not getting the results I want though, But anyway, it's that's an ingredient that's still there. I mean, you go back, Roger Nielsen, Captain Video, and all that he did, but he understood. Yeah, mentally, it had to be a thing. It had to be an environment that that still came ahead of how you broke the game down and that. So I agree in Calgary, and I got a lot of kinds of respect for Daryl Sutter, but it seems like they've hit a wall here. That there's it's not even a disconnect because you just understand that that style just doesn't seem to work right now or anymore.
You talk about hitting a wall. I'm looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs schedule right now. They have 8 games over the next 2 weeks. It's a lot of hockey, heading into the postseason. You don't want your older players, whether it be Tavares or Giordano or whoever it may be, feeling exhausted. Where do you stand on the whole resting guys as you head towards the postseason, Gord?
Well, I stand. Can we end the season now and start the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay, first.
This show is on board.
Yeah, so we're not debating, did Mitch Marner actually intend to head the puck, okay? That's not our storyline after. Or was it, so one thing when the playoffs, when the regular season ends, nobody of any, because McDavid got hurt game number 82, it seems like if you got tickets for game number 82, you're screwed, man. You got Gord Stellick and Justin Bourne in the lineup.
If we're in, bud.
You're in trouble. But you get a lot of days off before the playoffs. Like it's a bigger break than you get really aside from the All-Star break during the season. So you do get a chance to kind of recharge and retool. So saying that, whether I think a lot of teams are doing it now, canceling skates, cutting down on practices, short practices. The Bruins had 3 players that didn't go to Carolina. I mean, you can do that because it's, if people that have families and they get to spend a day at home rather, those are the kind of things. But it's the mental part that if you can keep it up, then that's the key in the playoffs because Boston wins yesterday or last night. Last 9 teams that won the President's Trophy haven't won the Stanley Cup. 8 of the 9 haven't made it to the conference final. And it just showed the long regular season and can you do it again in the playoffs and win those 16 games and how difficult it is.
So, Gord, I'm in the car the other day and I'm listening to you and Bruce Gabby Boudreau.
Oh, yeah.
And Gabby's telling this story about being with the Leafs and there's getting ready to start the playoffs, but he's not playing. So he goes to the opening game of the Toronto Blue Jays in 1977 on a game day, on a playoff game day.
I know.
And I almost pissed myself laughing. I'm thinking, okay, if we need to understand why he had an underwhelming career, that's it right there.
Yeah, and he said about the 5th inning he started feeling guilty, so he kind of left because we got a playoff game tonight, and he left and went, and I think he was sitting in those crappy $2 seats, and it was freezing out there. You remember?
Snow, Doug
Alt, treat it like beer league.
Yes, and he also keeps talking about that. Daryl Sittler chased him down the one time, and when he said, "Why are you first off the ice all the time? You're last on, first off, and what have you?" And he said, "After Daryl did that, I changed my again, and that's part of internally a great team leadership." He goes, "I changed my DNA, and I was like Daryl. I was last on the ice, but again, you mentioned perception." He goes, "Everyone perceives I wasn't a good practice player and I was lazy." He said, "I actually came around because of Daryl, but I got to that story, Kipper. You're 100% right. If you want to see how times have changed and things have changed, and there was no team meal. A lot of teams back then, so I remember the bus going back to the hotel, and there'd be a crappy snack bar there, or just a regular, and you got guys lined up waiting to go in for some crappy fish and chips, and then probably can't then getting back for the game. But Bruce has some good stories.
Hey, one more serious question on Gabby. How long will it take you and Elliot Friedman to find him another job?
Well, it's probably quicker than finding me another job, right? I think so. That could be.
You're like that Roger Stone guy who just goes and gets votes for politicians.
Oh my God!
What? Whoa! Whoa! I might get the perp walk out of here someday in shackles, right, or something like that for like my influence going different
Showed
places.
Up and he called you a fourth liner, called you Roger Stone on the way out.
Gosh, I wonder if Bruce has one more kick at it. It's not what he would want to do, and he's very quiet now because of the Vancouver situation. He's not stupid. He wants to get that. He's probably his lip is bleeding from wanting to talk, but he's got to keep quiet till June 30th. But I wonder. I just think he would be a great assistant for 1 year in the right situation.
He could never be an assistant. Not a chance. You never
We
want.
always say that.
You'll be the first coach and assistant coach in NHL history where the building is chanting your name. You will never bury your head coach like that. It's either big or go home with him. I think there's an owner out there that would gladly take him for a couple of years.
Oh, I think there should be.
Yeah.
He's a guy that'll. But keep in mind, Anyway, things change. If the one place he would have been an assistant is here, and I'm not shilling for him with the Toronto Maple Leafs or lied. He actually loved. He loved the Canadian experience in Vancouver, which, why was Ron Wilson ever hired here after in Calgary he, tore a strip off Jermaine Franklin when he got asked a question about when Joe Thornton, when San Jose came to town, he goes, Canadian media, the bloody Canadian media. So we hire him here, okay? Mr. Chuckles, okay? So that is part of what a coach in a Canadian-based team has to do.
Gord, 4 L's in April.
No, you just get
Brucey might be
annoyed.
looking at an open
Like
bench.
I'm annoyed at you.
What do you think, Justin? What do you think as far as Bruce goes?
Oh, I'm a big fan. I disagree with Kip that he couldn't be an assistant. I think guys love him. I think he's a good communicator. I'd like him in that role. I know he's famous, but okay.
He overshadow the head coach.
So what?
It's like Don Mattingly coming to Toronto now. Like the time is okay for
Not even
Don
close.
Mattingly to come. No, what do you mean not even close?
Not even close.
Yeah, don't pull that crap. Don Mattingly, like 5 years ago, it would have been a threat.
Right
Okay,
after the game, it's Bruce. What do you think?
I'd love to hear what Bruce thinks.
I know.
Why can't we know what Bruce thinks?
Okay, Bruce, you know what Bruce would say? I'm not dumb. There's the head coach over there. You go talk to him. Bruce has no history of undermining people within the organization.
No,
okay?
I know it's not that. I would never accuse him of doing that.
No, but
Why
as
do you
an
think Bruce
assistant
would do?
coach,
Why do you think he's going to I'm kidding, Kip. I'm kidding.
He's too big. He's too big of a personality at an assistant coach.
times changed. Kippy,
All right.
we were bigger personalities 10 years ago.
Yeah, look at
what
us
we're doing
now.
now. I know.
That's
Justin's
true.
on the
Look
rise.
at us
too.
now.
Justin, is he on TV tonight looking like $1 million, right? We don't know. We just sit back, huh?
You come on our show on a 320 hit at 314 because you got nothing better to do.
I was here at 114. I just waited
You're on
for
the
2
on deck
hours.
circle.
Yeah.
All right.
You're kicking
Electricity.
me off now, huh?
Always
Okay.
awesome, bud.
Hey, Paul Beeston was at the Conn Smythe the Conn Smythe dinner. Loves your show, especially when I'm on, by the way. But he made a point of mentioning he loves you guys.
Who's that,
and
sorry?
Sammy.
Paul Beeston.
Paul Beeston.
Oh, yeah.
You know
Paul,
what? I
Paul
heard
Beeston
he's a
didn't say
golfer.
my name.
He asked about Sammy.
No, he didn't. No, I don't
did.
believe you, Gordo.
He did.
Oh, I'm starstruck, boys.
Let's get a foursome going. The three of us and Beeston. If only we knew where he was a member, we could make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, he
I
asked
know
about
where he's a
Sammy
member.
Sosa, though. He was asking about Sammy Sosa. So anyway, anyway, I agree because this is what. Anyway, I'm not going
He's
to get.
Gord Stellick on Off the Rails Friday, man. Usually that's just left for Doug McLean, but you kind of took it that way a little bit too.
Thanks,
I'm gonna
buddy.
let's get back on the rails. I got
Okay.
curling tonight. Big curling game, mixed game, guys tonight. Wish me luck.
Go get
All
him.
right, go get him.
Stellictricity,
Okay. Thanks,
Leaf
guys.
Nation, pre and post. Never want to miss it. Gord Stellick. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Get out of here. Come back with Doug McLean, former NHL president, GM. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
From the City News 680 Traffic Center, I'm Mike Davey. On the eastbound 401, the southbound Huron-Ontario ramp to the highway partially blocked due to a collision. Tow on scene. It's also moving slowly from the 427, alternating express and collectors to Leslie. If you're traveling on the westbound QEW, we have a couple of issues here. Ramp to Dixie, right lane blocked by a stalled vehicle. Approaching Guelph line, another right lane closed. This one blocked by a collision. This Saturday's Lotto 649 Gold Ball jackpot is $56 million, and you could win the classic $5 million jackpot. Buy tickets in-store or olg.ca. Play responsibly, 18+.
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Doug McLean's got his work cut out for him because Gord was really good.
Gord is good.
Really good. All right, it's Friday. I was down there, as you know, for 5
Florida,
days.
yes, you saw Doug.
Saw Doug. Spent a good portion of the day with Doug. Set us up on the beach.
Get some oysters.
He's got a good thing going there. I got to be honest with you.
Better than us up here?
Way better than us. I'm coming back home, and I'm like, Doug McLean and Matthew Tkachuk got it right.
Got to figure it out, eh?
Yeah, they got it figured out. When did you figure it out, by the way? And you didn't come up with that plan all on your own, did you? Florida.
No, I figured it out when I walked out of Rogers the day they fired me.
No, that's not true.
Condo.
You were set up there long ago.
Freezing. I'm walking back to my.
Oh, Sammy did not check on your connection.
Calling from a ham radio today.
And Sammy's disappeared on us.
Have you got me there all right?
Yeah, what are you doing? Are the birds above you
I
again?
just took my headset out, but I got an echo. Sam, does he have a clue what he's doing or what?
That's up for debate.
Where are you?
I was going to go out in the patio, but it was so damn windy there.
Okay, don't move. Whatever you're doing, don't move.
Put my headset back in my case and see if it works.
Better, much better. Yeah, you got to clean those things every once in a while, by the way.
By the way, Jason.
Come on, Doug.
Justin, I mean.
Yes.
I go out to dinner with Kypreos and his lovely wife, Anne-Marie.
Yes.
And he buys dinner.
Ooh.
I did, yeah.
And I said, I can't believe this. I fought it. And then Kippy said, no, you've done me a favor. You've come on my show every Friday for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I said, Jill, I just got paid for the Real Kipper Show because Jill asks me regularly what I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
And I said, I just got $7 a segment for the last 2 years.
Well, I'm happy to hear
it's
it.
U.S.
I'm happy he did that. I owe you a couple too.
On your taxes.
So, anyway. You interested in the last 8 games, or are you just going to completely check out to the first round?
You know what? I'm kind of interested in the Pittsburgh-Florida battle. You know, to see who's going to get in there. Intrigued with the Rangers and Jersey last night. It was a great game. So there's some exciting races.
Did Florida convince you that they're still in the thick of things? And if they get in, was that pivotal moment when Paul Maurice just tore a strip off of them?
Like, seriously, you played in the NHL. The players would go to the bar after and say, "Did you hear that guy yelling and screaming at us? Like, what was that all about?"
Oh, excuse me. You were one of those guys.
Seriously? Yeah, I was. I was one of those guys. And the guy at the bench would be rolling their eyes. Yeah, get real. But anyway.
Agreed.
You want to call him back? All right. Oh, listen. Sammy's going to call you back on another line. All right?
Oh, Sam's there. I thought he left. Okay.
What do you think, Sammy?
I think we should call him back.
Okay, let's call him back. So he's not with me then. He's in your camp.
So, I mean, I'm like a bit of a cynical guy sometimes. So when my coach would do that sort of thing, I just remember being like, come on, like really. But you know what? I talked to a couple people who thought that the Tkachuk comments during the day influenced Maurice. Like a very public statement that your team is soft. Your team doesn't bring it every night.
You're talking about Keith.
Yeah, Keith Tkachuk yesterday.
Matt's father, Keith Tkachuk, great player. Had those comments before the Leaf game.
Afternoon hit at like 1:30.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it comes out that, Tkachuk says Matt's very disappointed with where the team's at. They don't bring it every night. They're soft, whatever. Maurice goes into this game. They show some soft play for a little bit, and all of a sudden it's like, I better. They thought, that there's.
See, I thought those
comments came before the game.
Yeah, they did. Oh, without a doubt, in my opinion, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
That helped trigger that.
You don't want to look like the coach who, God, publicly your stars are saying that you're not soft enough or not tough enough, and then you don't bring it. All right.
So, Doug, we were just JB just mentioned Keith Tkachuk's comments publicly about calling his son Matthew's team soft, and did that play into Paul Maurice snapping?
I don't know about that. I guess Keith can get away with that because Keith can back it up. He had a great career and he was a star in the league. I didn't like the comments. I thought it put his kid in a horrible situation with his teammates and with everybody. I didn't really like. I mean, look, those are conversations you have if you want to talk about that with your son or buddies, but to go into the media with that, I didn't really like it. Unless, did he think it was going to motivate them? I don't know. I think Keith might have just got caught. I think maybe he got talking, and you know how sometimes you're in the media and you say things you wish you didn't say. I've got to believe that's one he'd like to take back, but maybe not. I mean, he's a pretty. I always liked Keith and found him to be a straight shooter, but I found those a little. You got enough trouble going on with the team trying to battle for a playoff race. You don't need that from the outside. You don't need that outside noise affecting your team. And maybe he did it. I don't know. Did Paul Maurice yelling at them change it? No. I think what did is Toronto screwed up in the overtime and blew a game. That's what really happened. I don't think it was Paul Maurice. I think it was more Morgan Riley and Nylander and Tavares is what I think. That's what changed the game.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And, we talked a little bit about this stuff before in the first block, but, Rick Bowness also had a post game, where he said that if his team thinks they're giving it their all, they're deluding themselves or whatever he said. But then Scheifele's name comes up. A reporter says, Mark Scheifele says he likes to hang onto the puck to create offense, and his eyes rolled back in his head. What are your thoughts? Bonus is a respected guy. You measured, thoughtful person. Like, there seems to be some real tension there, doesn't there?
Well, you know what happened? Like, people, when you've been in the trenches and you feel what the pressure's like when you're stumbling, when you're in a playoff race, and all of a sudden things are going south. And Paul Maurice has had a tough year all year in Florida with, bad goaltending and, just not a very good performances from his group. And Rick starts out in first place. And who's that analytics guy in Toronto there? Mike Kelly. I mean, he did this great thing on this great defensive system that Paul Maurice or the new coaching staff have put in place. And I sort of question him on that. And I'm thinking, well, it's not working that well right now. But you know what? You get carried away because the pressure is overwhelming in Winnipeg to make the playoffs. And internally in Florida it is. So all of a sudden you say things. That's not Rick Bowness's style. Right. It's not his style. And I just think you get so damn frustrated that you lose it.
It's funny too because we still have old school mentality, and there's no one leading the charge more than Daryl Sutter, and he stays consistent, and at times the media find it charming and then they find it tiresome, but it's always intertwined with winning or losing, right? You're charismatic and charming and funny and a great highlight reel for us when you're winning, but when you're not, you're the problem.
Yeah, I get such a charge out of that. Like I've chuckled at Daryl for years because of the dry shots and here and gives the media shots, he gives his players shots, and you're 100% right. When you're winning, it's great. When you're losing, all of a sudden you start getting blamed, and so I get a kick out of it both ways. But I'll tell you what, guys, when you walk out of your dressing room as a head coach and you got to go to that podium after a devastating loss, it is without a doubt the worst part of the job. The worst part of the job. And there's always one clown in the group that is out to get you. And you got to walk out there and say, oh, I got to deal with that bozo again today, and I know he's going to be coming after me.
Our Luke Fox.
It drives you back.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Luke.
Who'd you say?
I just named a couple people here.
The nicest guy in the Leafs beat.
There's also guys that try to hold people accountable too.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I like Speck. I love Speck in Edmonton. He gets mad at the team when they lose because he's a cheerleader, and then he takes it out. Then he's so damn mad at the team when they lose, and I get such a chuckle out of it. But anyway, so you get it all different. But it's I remember one time I was going down the escalator in Vancouver, and the Panther writer was going up the escalator. And he said something to me, and I started yelling at him. And here we are in a yelling match on an escalator. And the best thing that happened is he was going down, and I was going up, and I couldn't stay yelling at him because he disappeared, So, there's lots of fun with it. But it's hard on the head. It really is. And I listen to these coaches and I think, you poor buggers. It's, I've lived it when it's been good and lived it when it's been bad. And, they just love. But anyway, that's fine. That's their job, That's their job. It's like you when you do that article in the newspaper there. I mean, you become a bit of a nitpicker yourself. You're a bit of an expert,
I bought you dinner, and that's the shot you want to give me before I go to my next
You
question.
didn't buy me dinner.
you paid him what he was owed.
Hey, 8 games to go for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Mac, when you coached,
first of all, I got to tell you an Elliott story. I'm telling Elliott today that I finally got paid for this. Sportsnet paid you? And then I told him that you bought me dinner. Well, he was devastated, So anyway, okay.
Well, there's the official
Go
off
ahead.
the rails right there. Hey, do you remember your last 10 games, regardless of where you were in the standings, on focus and concentration, lines, pairings, getting your players in a good frame of mind? How individual does your coaching change when you start preparing for the playoffs?
You know what? I don't know. It sort of does change the last 10 if you're in the playoffs. If you're not in and you don't sort of have a good clue on your position and you're trying to win home ice, it's real. It's day to day grinding out. But if you're in and you're comfortable, you start trying to get your lines together. And I look at the Leafs and I keep seeing these extra defensemen and one less forward. I'm thinking, boys, get it together. You've got a great chance. If they're focused and if they're ready, they have a chance to beat Tampa this year. I'm telling you that. They do. Tampa has not been good. Their penalty killing is horrendous right now, and Toronto's power play is that good. So this is a great opportunity. So figure it out. Get your lines together. Get Riley healthy. Get this back on the rails and get it to the point where you can go in and beat this hockey team, because it is critical. Obviously, you know how critical it is they win, but they've got a chance with the way Tampa have faltered this year.
They certainly do. We were looking at some interesting stuff that we wanted to get you to weigh in on today, Doug. And one of the things is the NHLPA has introduced the new head of the PA, Marty Walsh. A unique background, was the mayor of Boston, worked for the Biden administration. What are your thoughts on what to expect from Marty Walsh?
I know a few people that know him well, and I get rave reviews about him. Rave reviews. He's a union man first and foremost. That's his life. Strong beliefs in it. I hear he's a real solid guy. I've met a guy that was, a businessman in Boston when he was a mayor, talks highly about him. I know other people that have known him for years. As I said in my tweet yesterday, the PA finally have a leader. And I mean that. Finally, they have a leader, and they haven't had one for 10 years, in my opinion. So I think it's going to be real interesting. I think he'll be a formidable battler with Gary Bettman, and I think that he will stand up big time.
What would his first priority be?
Well, he said his first priority is to get to know his constituents, and that he's a hockey fan, but he doesn't really, know that, he hasn't followed it that closely, I suspect. So get to know the players. And I mean, the biggest challenge is there's a handful of it. I mean, we know that the PA has been a gong show, Nick, can you say that, Nick, or not?
Oh, no, Mac. It's been a build up right from early 2000s.
100%. So he's got to get a team is what he's got to get in place. He's got to get his team in place. And you know that more than anybody. You need a loyal group of guys with you for these battles that he's going to have. And, it's going to be fun to watch. I'm really interested in watching it. And I sat in the Board of Governors meetings when it was only 30 people in Bettman and Daly sitting there when we were making the decision to go out on strike because my owner was sick and I was the guy voting for Columbus. And I'll tell you what, they were a united group. He's got to unite the players. That's not easy when you got 750 players. But I think this guy is going to do a hell of a job. I really believe it.
Mac, one more. Just the Ottawa sale. And you've been through a couple of scenarios. One was the buildup of the Columbus Blue Jackets. You were also in a situation where I think you were involved with a purchase that didn't go through with Tampa Bay, correct?
Yeah.
Is this thing going slower than it should? Is it just due diligence? What do you think's going on behind the scenes with the sale of the Ottawa Senators?
Well, first of all, we've got a love fest going on between Bruce Garriock and Ryan Reynolds. That's getting hard to handle. I mean, that's getting hard to handle. Like, seriously. He said out a tweet last night he's having a hard time getting a good picture of Ryan Reynolds. And I thought, I should send something out, but maybe I won't. You know what? It's just there's a number of groups. There's a lot of work. When we were doing the Tampa deal, it was actually the same banker in Sal, the Sal guy that runs that company that did our due diligence. Bettman is going to push this rate to the limit. Bettman wants to maximize this price. That's obviously the number one goal. He is dying to say this is $1 billion deal. I don't know if it's going to get that high. I can't believe it will, but he's dying to push it to the limit. So, you know, I don't think it's going slow. I think it'll move a little bit quicker now because people have had a chance to look at the numbers and do the due diligence and see the building and see the potential of the downtown site and so on. So I suspect it'll start to move a little quicker.
Hopefully when they put a new building in, they won't have a restaurant that charges as much as yours charged me.
What'd you get, Doug?
What'd
you get?
You got a seafood platter that was the size
tower?
Size of the CN Tower. Yes,
God.
correct.
I felt terrible because I was expecting at least to split it with you. I said to Jill, maybe Kippy will step up. I don't expect him to, but I wouldn't be surprised he might try. And then I was going to battle you, and then but I did go whole. You know what I said to Jill? I didn't even look at the price of that item. I felt terrible the next day.
You don't need to, Doug. You've earned it.
I was so full of food and wine that I just felt terrible.
What a life.
I knew I was in Florida because I saw crocodile arms at the table. They don't reach the pockets. No. All right, Mac.
I really appreciate. Hey, look, I really appreciate Sportsnet picking up the tab. I really, really do.
Yes.
And they would be thrilled to buy. Tell Corte I really appreciate it.
I will. Send him your love. All right, Doug McLean on Off the Rail Fridays. Never a disappointment.
Care,
Thanks for doing this, Mac.
Okay, boys.
Thanks, Doug. Good dinner?
Yeah, it was a good dinner.
Nice.
Yeah, they're not short of great restaurants.
Seafood restaurants in Miami.
Yeah.
You know, I thought you might be
a
able
little
to find
fresh.
a couple. Yeah.
Pretty fresh.
Grab it off the dock.
Yeah. Just want to get a little bit more into what Doug said. And like, I totally get what he's saying here is as teammates of the Florida Panthers, you know, whatever's coming from dad has to be connected to you. Right.
Oh yeah. About
Kachuk, about Matt Kachuk. And
I agree.
It would have put him in an awkward place.
To me,
in
it's
that
the same as
dressing room.
Walsh and Huberdeau. I mean, the same thing where it's it's coming from Huberdeau, who's not happy with whatever. It's coming from Kachuk, the truth. And it's different if Kachuk has said this to his team before.
It's not a comparable to Alan Walsh and Marc-Andre Fleury.
No, Alan Walsh and Jonathan Huberdeau, I mean.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You know, I forget exactly what it was that he said about Calgary and
Huberdeau, not being a fun place.
Not being a fun place. And that comes from the guy.
But the root of Alan Walsh is to question the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Kachuk questioned 20 guys.
Or was he questioning the head coach? Because the context was he said that Ottawa brings it every night. Like DJ Smith has those guys going.
But when you call a team soft, you're not calling out the coach that you're coaching soft.
Right.
You're calling out 20 guys and their character, which is a big difference for me.
Yeah, I can see that. It was a big deal here when Keith said soft and purposeless, right? Like that was a direct.
Yeah. And Doug's right. I mean, you're not just anybody's throwing that out. It's not me, you, or Sammy saying that on our show. This is a guy who's played the game hard, considered a U.S. legend, right? Olympics, all of it. And it carries so much weight.
But I wonder if because of the player Kachuk is, where he can say, I do bring that every night. And I don't see it from you guys. Like, I wonder if that's okay. If he's okay with taking on that role within that team, that this is my team. You know, I know he's new this year, but.
You know, yeah, you make a valid point that, like, even more so than Barkov. This is more Matthew Kachuk's team right now.
100-point guy. I'm younger than him. I'm a bigger star than he is.
Even Barkov. And,
Thank
you know,
Gilbert.
he's backed up everything this year.
Yeah.
So if the message is from him and his dad that you guys are soft, then so what? Deal with it.
There's no doubt that if, you know, my dad went in the newspaper and was like, I hear there's some tension on the Kypreos Bourne show, I'd be like, hey, Dad, maybe keep that too,
Hey,
you know, like
shut your pie hole.
yeah, you know, we don't need that in the media.
Scram, beat it.
It's a crazy thing to say in the media. I do.
Yeah.
But
I agree with Doug, but he's probably just chatting, got a little loose. Happens.
that's a good job by the three-letter to get that quote. Good on him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good
Absolutely.
quote. We've had him on a couple times. He didn't give us that.
Didn't get him to savage his son's
No.
team.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And Colby Armstrong, former NHLer, Sportsnet hockey analyst, co-host of Chicklets and Game Notes.
Nailed it.
See him on commercials, selling insurance, babysitting. What doesn't Colby Armstrong do? Arm Dog after the break. You're watching, listening, Real Kyper and Bourne.
From the City News 680 Traffic Center, I'm Mike Davey, eastbound 401, busy from the 427 to Leslie, alternating express and collectors. Westbound 401, seeing delays at the 404, alternating express and collectors to Dixon. Northbound DVP jammed, Bayview Bloor to York Mills. Southbound 400, busy approaching Shepherd to the 401 ramps. Westbound Gardner, delays approaching Jarvis to west of Strawn, then again Park Lawn to the 427 ramp. Eastbound Gardner, seeing a delay here, Humber Bridge to the Jarvis ramp. Experience luxury at every curve and turn inside the commanding Infiniti QX80. Visit your local retailer or infinity.ca today.
is Real Kipper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Tons to get into with Colby Armstrong. Paul Maurice. Wonder if anybody
Penguins
yelled
are fringy.
Wonder if anybody yelled at Colby.
I am interested to know about that.
Would Colby be a guy to have issues like Bunting would, maybe?
Too nice a guy, Colby. I think
Yeah,
too
too
well
nice.
liked.
He'd turn around.
He yell at his coach?
No.
Oh, you turn around and listen to the coach?
around and listen to the
Yeah,
coach.
coach, yeah.
Whatever you say.
It's game time.
It is game time. Sammy, we got him, or are you finding him?
They're just chit-chatting on the finer
That
aspects.
Sammy on a Friday was going to drop the ball with
He's there.
Doug McLean. I thought we lost him.
Well, he salvaged it.
Yeah, he salvaged
Yeah.
it.
Fixed it.
Fixed it. Let's hear Colby's connection. Come in, Colby.
What's going on? What's going on? Dougie, shocker. He doesn't get any service in the RV, hey?
I know, buddy. I know. How things going, man?
Good. Good, buddy. A little rainy day in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're getting used to this right now in the spring, but
Is that
like always, we're usually used to playoff hockey. We'll see what happens, all right?
it didn't rain on Pitt the other night. There's a big win.
Yeah, that was huge, and I don't know. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries, right? Jari'd been out for a little while, and then came back, and then floundered, and then they lost 4 of their top 60, and got Petrie back here the last few games. Jari came back last night, and I don't know. It's just like with the Pens, I'm just like going into the rink to work the game. I'm like, what's going to happen tonight? I don't know. That's the kind of vibe I get. I'm just like, what are we going to see tonight? What team are they? So a little bit up and down right now, but hoping to get a few more guys back from injury here in the next few games at least.
Do you get a sense that there's any sort of panic here? Like everyone I talk to is like, it's Pittsburgh, it's Crosby. They never miss, but is it starting to feel like it's slipping away a little bit?
Well, I don't know if it's slipping away, but you look at the team and you're like, is this team going to challenge for the cup? And of course, anything's possible. I mean, Jari gets hot, he plays all-star form, which we've seen him be able to do before. They get guys back healthy again, and I think their top 6 when they're rolling can go with a lot of teams. But I don't know through the depths of their lineup of if they can do it. And honestly, the health issues this year has been crazy. Like they've been banged up quite a bit to significant key guys also. So look, I think they could make some noise. Like I think no matter what, that Penguins logo just due to Crosby, Malkin, Letang, but that Penguins logo, I think, it holds some standing in the league where teams, are always kind of ready to play them a little bit. And, come the playoffs, anything can happen. So, like, look at the Rangers last year. Like, they knocked Trouba knocked Crosby out, goaltender injury issues. Raquel gets knocked out, like, and they had them right on the ropes. They had them right where they wanted. So, anything can happen. And, we wouldn't be talking about the Rangers like we would have going into the season had that happened, had they got knocked off by the Penguins in the first round. But, the Pens have their work ahead of them here. It's the theme around here, guys, is embrace the race.
Okay.
And that's what they're doing right now. They're just trying to battle to get in with that 3-team gong show right to the end.
Colby, there's some markets that could look at going through the summer or early fall where they know where their team's at. So
Yeah.
where the Penguins fans' mindset or mentality on where this team is at? Do they look at this team and say, yeah, this is probably where we should be battling for a spot, or are a lot of them going, come on, we still have Sid at the height of his career and Malkin. How are we even in this predicament?
Well, we've got, what do they have here? I think the fans know. Well, to take it back to the beginning, like I think it was interesting because I think a lot of people expected like either no Malkin, no Letang, or the possibility of both leaving in the summer. They got them both signed, and then I think, the expectations went back up again. Like I think the fan base expects, to win. They expect to have the big 3 back. You're expected to win now. Ron Hexel and company have to do their job to, be on the same page as the fans, I guess, and it made for a noisy last couple weeks leading up to the trade deadline and into the trade deadline and post trade deadline, and looking at some of the moves they made and if it was good or not. Like Granlund, 2 more years at $5 million. Has people looking at it now with Jari's contract coming up, Dumoulin's up. Several other guys through the depths of the lineups are up as well, and bringing back the big guys and going, Zucker's up as well. How are you got to find room to fit him in? Are you going to keep Jari? So I think there's a little bit of uneasiness about what this team might look like, how much they're willing to pay for certain guys, and what the prices of certain guys were going to be. And Tristan Jarry is obviously a big one, right? Like he's a number one guy. We've seen him. When he's at the top, he's pretty darn good. And this year he's been inconsistent and had injuries, and at times shined like an all-star. So, I don't know if you can get better than him, more consistent than him, or what they're looking at for price tag come this summer. But there's definitely guys that you want around, and there's definitely guys that I think you're looking at it going, those are tough on the salary cap.
We've been talking quite a bit today, Colbs, about Murray's freaking out on the Panthers and Bonus rolling his eyes at Scheifele. Won't ask you exactly those questions, but I do want to get your if you were a guy who ever got yelled at, like every team's got their guy that they pick on, the coach is a little bit rough too. Were you someone who ever suffered that abuse?
Oh, yeah, I could take it. Then you know how dumb I am? I would go out and make them look good and respond the correct way, and they'd go,
I always hated that myself.
I know. I'm like, God, after the game when you're out after dinner and you're like, all the guys know too. All the guys are like, Army, you made it look so good. That's a trick he's going to use on you now. But I was comfortable. I think I needed the little pokes here and there, looking back at it. I think it was good for me. I think I was a guy that needed to be on the edge, right? And it was easy to get a little comfortable sometimes. And I did think I played better when I was a little angry, a little bit on edge, and a little bit scared. So, it wasn't always easy, but I love seeing the fire in the game. I think, emotion and passion for me in hockey lately is, like dropped off probably 50%. It bugs me sometimes to watch. And, Kyper, I sat with you, next to you, and we had discussions about this years ago. So it's gone down quite a bit since then. And, I love seeing the reaction and bluster from the coaches and the purple face on the bench yelling. And Derek Lalonde in the Pens game the other day on a goalie, and he got ejected for that one, giving it to the refs too. It was pretty good. So I like that it's starting to get heated up. I like that we're starting to see a little more passion, desperation, and emotion in our game. You
buy into the theory that a third love their coach, a third hate him, and a third are indifferent?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? It was funny. I interviewed and talked to at the All-Star game in Vegas. When was that? 2 years ago? Last year? I don't even know. And I was talking to Rod Brindamore, and he's like as genuine as it comes, and just like he talks to you, not like an everyday coach. He's like one of the boys. And I was asking him about being a player's coach and what that means, and he had the best answers. Like, what does it mean when a guy says a guy's a good coach? What does it mean when he says that? Like, if you're a player, ask any player who's their favorite coach. It's the guy that played them the most. And that's so true. I'm like, that is 100% true. You talk to any guy, they're like, hey, that guy, do you like him as a coach? Well, he liked me and he played me. So yeah, he was good.
Yeah. But that's also the end result. What comes before that is he likes you. Yeah. He respects you. Yeah. He goes to you more often. He believes in you.
He knows what he can get out of you. He trusts you. Yeah. It's like, he knows when you're against the wall what you're going to do. I think that takes some time to build that. I think it takes some time to understand each other in regards to that. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. There's definitely steps that go into getting to that point. It doesn't just happen like that. But, to say that you earn it, yeah, maybe. But to also say that, the coach maybe has a soft spot for you because he trusts you, that's a whole other thing. And I think, you see a lot of young guys coming in the game, and, we've heard Torts' comments, right? Like it's a young, dumb game. And, and I think for a lot of coaches, it takes, those steps throughout to earn trust and earn, in his eyes, consistency of play in certain situations and playing with certain players. And, the list goes on and on. So that's a major factor, and that takes time.
Well, how do you feel about stuff getting out to the media, whether through, like we were talking about Keith Tkachuk's comments yesterday about Florida being soft, says Matthew's disappointed, or he might even said devastated about where they're at. And it's like, okay, well, that obviously came from Matthew originally. We're talking Scheifele, we're talking, some of this stuff just finds a way out. It's not the worst thing necessarily, but if you're a guy in the room and your teammate is talking about the team like that, are you shocked? Do you care? Do you go to him?
No, I think I don't know. I think a lot of the guys would know about it already. I think it's probably discussed the back of the bus on the way to the airport after a tough game. I think it's just like those frustration venting talks.
Yeah.
Where I think it's always kind of front and center. Like, you guys have been on the buses and been in the dressing rooms and been on the planes where it is going tough, or, it's expected to be more. And, everyone's pretty open. I mean, it's pretty open conversation too at come trade deadline, where guys, are hearing murmurs or talking to their agent or what's being said or what the team is saying about contract negotiations. All that stuff is kind of shared at the back and shared amongst each other. So I honestly, I think the lines of communication between, players are pretty open. And if it came from Tkachuk, rightfully so. I mean, that guy came into that situation and went there just wanting to go to Florida. Obviously pushed his way there a little bit, but, he's gone in there and thrown together another 100-point season and plays it, any way you want to play it. Like, who wouldn't love to have that guy on their team? Passion and desire and honestly love for being there. Like, at times it could probably be in a tough place to play. It hasn't had the juice that, some of their teams maybe, deserved in conversation at times throughout, the number of years. But he's a guy that went in there ready and locked and loaded to be a difference maker, and hoping he could, after the season they had last year, that he could take it over the top. And it's kind of fallen flat in the total picture with this group.
We're talking to Colby Armstrong, Sportsnet hockey analyst, co-host of Chicklets Game Notes. If we assume that Pitt is in and Florida is out, what happens with Calgary? Do they catch Winnipeg? Game 79, I think they play against each other.
Yeah, that's huge. I could see them getting in. I'm so blown away at Winnipeg, guys. I don't know. I can't believe they came to play Pittsburgh like 2 months ago here. And I was like, oh my God, that team is sneakily going to win the Stanley Cup this year. They're that good. They're big. They're like huge. They're huge. They're structured. They're strong. Their D are sneaky good all over the ice. They play this physical hockey, and then they've got Hellebuck on top of it. And I'm like, they came in and absolutely dominated the Penguins. Dominated them. Like, it looked like another league. And I was watching going, holy smokes, like this team is nasty. And to see how much they've fallen and where they are right now boggles my mind. It boggles my mind to see the type of play that they're going through. So, a team that's leaving a lot on the table with how good they should be and where they should be at. But, saying all of that, I'd like to see Calgary get in. And it would be great if it came down to the game where they played each other. It would be awesome. I'd be tuned in for that one big time.
Absolutely. One of the theme of our show today has been talking about the PA, and I know, Kyper, you and I are going to talk a little bit more about it post-Colby, but I did want to get your thoughts on new leadership for the union. Are you someone who pays attention to that sort of thing? I know some guys, it's not their bag. Is that of interest to you?
Well, I did a few years ago, and obviously the lockout one was at 13, and, a lot of things changed, with hockey. And kind of the younger guy, older guy. So I was more paying attention at that time. New leadership, I know, in the last few years at the PA, there'd been kind of rumblings that they were looking for something new. So, in finding that and in search for that and in, taking steps internally with that group, it's probably time for that as well with Donald Fairleven. So interesting times, interesting situation. I was actually just talking to them today about my email, my NHLPA email that may no longer be of use. So I'm trying to figure that out. Might have to go back to the old Hotmail.
Listen, me and you have, we're NHLPA alumni. And if I look back at the whole history of the NHLPA, I would say that my era, it was never stronger with the backing of Gretzky, Lemieux, Yzerman, all the big boys. What do you remember about your time at the PA and where it was or where it was headed? Were you one of those guys that cared or, followed along, or, Well, I'm just wondering what Marty Walsh has to do now to get it back to being a powerful association or union again for the NHL.
Yeah, so interesting mentioning that, and of course, your lockout in the '90s, and then ours in 2005. I played in the minors that year. Coming out of that too, I remember there was even conversation with that, translating into the American League, which made the veteran rule and everything, and a lot of older guys being upset that they were going to lose their jobs because of limited play, even in the minors. So it not only caused us to lose a year of hockey. At that time in the NHL, and I was in the minors, and it was my third complete season in the minors because there was no NHL, which made the hockey really good, but it really changed the landscape. But I remember when I finally went up to the NHL and hearing some of the actual stories from the guys in their fight during that lockout, like from Chelios to others, it was much different than when I went through it in that half shortened season in, I believe it was 12-13. When that one happened. So I don't know. It was a little. It seemed stronger. I would say then Kyper. You're right in regards to the names of guys that you talked about before, and even in 05, like hearing some of the stories from some of those guys who I got to play with that were pretty strong and united and inside of that one as well, and some of the stories in the fallout of some of the things that happened. So. Look, they need strong leadership. They need good vision. Like the guys are pretty preoccupied. Kyper, it's hard. At times, and there seems to be a certain faction on every team of guys that are more involved than others, and it's really on a lot of the players and a lot of those factions of the group to drag in probably half of the team into discussions, into communication, and into keeping up with what's going on. So if the new leadership can do that and set the tone with that with the guys and the morale behind, the players. Because Kyper, I'm like you, I'm a player's guy to the death. Like I'll push and have their back with a lot of the things and say they deserve all the salaries in the world. And I love that. So, for me, I think, it's just a turnover and a chance and an opportunity for them to kind of build something as we approach all these craziness with best on best and World Cup of hockey and all the things that come into it. When all those big boys, as you mentioned, Gretzky and others, who were, in your time, and it's going to be that time for the big boys again here coming up.
Yeah, big challenges ahead. Hey, Cole, thanks for doing this, pal.
All right, boys. Appreciate it. Always love coming on with you guys. Too bad you guys have to work with Sammy.
Have a good weekend, but I know we're getting through it.
To the Sam dog.
All right, Sammy, clipping them all off. He's clipping them. He's clipping them, boys. Oh, what a beauty. All right, see you, boys. Have a good weekend.
Colby Armstrong. It's going to be interesting. Of course, we're talking about Marty Walsh, introduced as the executive director of the National Hockey League Players Association yesterday. U.S. Secretary of Labor to the hockey world.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting.
Career arc, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you watch any of his press conference and just your initial thoughts? I mean, there's no question he looked as green as can be up there, and for good reason. I mean, he's just been thrown into this world.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, of course, he's not of this world, and he does have learning to do, but a guy with his background has obviously handled some complicated issues. He seems like a pretty strong personality. Seems like the guys really are excited about him, and I think those are all important parts of it. And now it's just a matter of making sure he's informed on the issues and what the players want and letting them know what to fight for, right?
He just looks like a guy that was like a talking head on like a serious political, like it's just like he looks like he'd be interviewed on CNN like he used to be.
Yeah.
Like he feels like he's got a lot of cachet, but doesn't have any clue in terms of the actual ins and outs of hockey, which you'll learn. Right. But I think at the top, he seems like a good guy to have in charge. Is what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, good.
We got a clip.
We got the clip. We got a clip from him. Yeah, we do. But
let's play it.
Yeah.
Marty, welcome. Josh Clipperton with Canadian Press. Just what's your view of the hard cap system as it stands, and is a luxury tax something that players might look to entertain in the next round of negotiations?
Yeah, this is where I'm going to pump in. I'm new on the job, so so I've learned a little bit about. I mean, I've learned a lot about the salary cap and moving forward. I think it's still it's too premature to talk about what we'll be talking about in negotiation. That's really going to be based on what the players want and the direction the players want to go in, and we have not been anywhere near having deep conversations about that yet. I mean, most of the conversations I've had with the players have been like getting to know each other. Obviously the search committee, I had a chance to get to know them pretty well. The executive board, I've had a chance to get to know them pretty well. I'm still learning the players we're still meeting each other, I should say, not learning, meeting each other. So we're a little early on that one.
Oh, there's going to be plenty of learning for him.
A lot to learn. The salary cap is a complicated thing, and really it's at the...
Just see how thick it is?
Yeah.
It's going to take him a year to read that
someone
thing.
drop that on your desk for homework, and then you have to understand it.
I love the idea. Please, Marty, luxury tax. Please, Bubba. Come on.
It's funny, like impossible to see a world where the owners go, yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Let's
Sammy.
let salaries balloon.
It's not going to happen.
With Marty in charge, it might.
Marty.
Really, I don't think people and fans should get caught up on the CBA needs to change, or it needs to go to a new salary cap or a new form of escrow. Like, nothing's going to change in that. It is locked in. The only thing I believe, if you want to tweak a few things, there might be. You asked me, like, are you nervous that there could be another lockout or a strike?
Well,
do you think fans worry about that?
I think that Donald Fair had been there through both of them, the more recent ones, and understands the harm that happened to the game and the hurt that fans felt, and that in a media world where there are more entertainment options than ever, that I don't think you can afford to do it again. My fear is that someone who hasn't seen the pain comes in and says, we're digging in. It's like, wait, we can't do it again. We can't go there. Yeah. So I don't know his personality, and I have no fear that he would be the cause of it. I would have a fear that any new guy, this is your new stepdad coming in, that he's going to be a hard liner.
Do you worry about that, Sammy, at all? Do you think fans do?
Yeah. Oh my God, it keeps me up at night, especially working in this role. Like, if I've said this to you guys off air, but there's a lockout, I quit. Like, absolutely. Immediately. Like, I'm going to work at the beer store, boys. There's no chance.
I'll be reading the CBA if there's a
lockout. Yeah, you don't have to worry about going to a beer store. There's never going to be another lockout or strike.
Please.
No. There isn't.
No?
No. There's nothing.
There's nothing left to give the owners.
There's nothing to fight for from the player's perspective to that. If you didn't fight for it originally, you're not going to fight for it now. That you've missed that opportunity. That is gone. So what is left for the players? You want to tweak a few things? Yes. But you're gonna tweak a few things and threaten to not play? No.
Right.
The priority to me outside of the cap, and you guys talked about this when I was gone, I think with the Ohtani thing, but it's best on best. It's got to, like, what are we doing here?
Well, listen.
That's a thing to me, but I don't, it should happen.
You don't think the players are pushing that hard?
Yeah, but
come on.
We can sit here, including your best on best, and come up with 30 different things that they should focus on, but they all have one common denominator here, and that is finding ways to create revenue. And that's, to me, Marty Walsh, number one priority is that he's got to get on Gary and he's got to get on the NHL to continuously find ways to drive revenue up. Yeah. Everything gets solved. The players have no problem with this system if the cap keeps going up. That just means more money, and then the fans could be happy because here in Toronto, if the cap goes up, there's no threat of, is it Austin Matthews? Is it Willie Nylander? Is it Mitch Marner? But who's leaving in 2 years, right? If the cap goes up, the fans are happy, the players are happy, and the system, it is what it is. it's all for Marty Walsh
So that's
right
why
now.
the World Cup is.
It's all about finding ways with the league to stay on. Where's new money coming in?
Yeah.
Well, a big-time World Cup of hockey with all the best players playing at it might help.
That's a start.
For sure.
You know?
Definitely an element of it.
Obviously when they sit down with the players, or who, like, the thing is, it's who's the players. Are they going to be involved in best on best? And that's another conversation. But, like, you don't think when they're listing out their top priorities, of course, make more money, that's going to be number one no matter what. But outside of that, you don't think best on best is going to be at the top of the list for these guys?
I know the last World Cup, it did not register like they had hoped.
Well, because they did. It was stupid. Like, I'm sorry.
It was stupid.
What are we, like, we had that one electric game with Team North America versus Sweden. That was incredible. But, like, in Team Europe versus Canada in the final, like.
We're going to take your good young players off your
How
team.
about we just put Germany in there, or like Switzerland? Like, it was just so stupid that they did that.
But, the other thing that kind of bothers me a little bit too, and again, if I want to talk about my experience of being a part of the NHL Players Association and having everybody all in, nobody cares about me at the table, back then, or third and fourth liners. You got to go and march up to Gary Bettman's office and hold them a little bit accountable, but you need to do it with Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby and all these new young guns getting involved. I'm watching these guys, and the guys that basically hired Marty Walsh, or Marty's information in the last month or 6 weeks has come from guys that are 30 years of age and over, right? If you look at the guys that got involved in bringing Marty Walsh in, we're talking about Shattenkirk and Okposo and Nate Schmidt and Van Riemsdyk. With all due respect to those guys, they're out of the league in 2 or 3 years. And they're not big names that create a lot of attention. Where are the big names to stay involved here? Like, Marty shouldn't be focusing on Sidney Crosby or Ovechkin now. They're done. Like, they're done 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They got their money. They really care about the future of the next 10 or 15 years? No. Go and talk to Hughes. Go and get Zegras on board.
Oh.
No, I'm telling you, but that's the future. That's the next 10 or 15 years.
I get it, but you know this as well as I do, that those guys have had everything handed to them and it's just worked out. They are not used to being like, oh, this could go wrong and the union could fail us and we could, like, those are not the guys I want to go to on union and worldly issues. I get your point about their name cachet. It is that middle pocket there of Draisaitl and McDavid and Matthews and Marner
Marner, right? Matthews, like those are big names that now can create what their world could look like in the next 10 or 15 years. If you don't pay attention, don't come crying to us, is the basic message here.
Yeah.
Right? They're all crying. 2 years ago, during a year and a half ago in the pandemic, they're all crying about escrow. Like, where were you guys?
Yeah.
Hello? McFly.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I'm on board. I just know how my own evolution has gone as a young man to, whatever I am now. It's
old guy.
Yeah. I'm an old guy. The evolution is real. Like, you don't understand or care that you need to understand or care. And those guys should. So maybe they need a cuff upside the ears by an old guy like me.
Yeah. And, Doug McLean has got some insight into Marty Walsh. He knows people that know people. Speaks very highly of him. Maybe he's the one that can galvanize these guys together.
And also,
again.
It doesn't sound like the players are fighting for that much. It's like they want the cap to go up. They want to make some more money. The NHL wants to make more money too. So you start off as you're not an adversary. You're a partner,
And I got to remind everybody, like, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
Like, there's really
Let's create a buck and split it.
There's really no wiggle room here. Can you imagine if Gary in the next...
we want 51. Everyone would be like, beat it.
Maybe Gary wants 55, 45. How would that go over?
I mean, publicly, there's no chance. They could not curry favor for making a bunch of money and saying we want 51%. Everyone would be like, double birds.
You cannot. There's nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go
on 50-50.
Yeah, it's just no one can argue that they deserve a greater portion.
So why would there ever be a striker lockout ever again?
I agree with that. There is some comfort in that.
Okay, enough. Maybe
Questions?
we'll get Marty Walsh on next week.
Maybe. They said maybe. So
all right,
we'll see.
Cool.
I was supposed to be today. Anyways, we'll
all
continue.
right. Where else? You tweets.
I got a
text?
bunch. I got a bunch of questions here. Okay. This one's from Giant Pie 12. Hell of a handle, Giant Pie 12. Who are the 3 players in the league that have exceeded your expectations either way this year?
I got 2 in Edmonton.
I just gonna say RNH and probably Hyman.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is gonna get 100 points. His career high is like what, 65 or something?
If Skinner gives them any type of goaltending like he did last night,
they are going all the way.
How real are the Edmonton Oilers?
Extremely, like maybe favorites real. The other one for me is Erik Karlsson, who I had a career over, like written off. This guy's not the player he once was. The injury ruined him, whatever. He's got 7 games to get 9 points to hit 100.
That's ridiculous.
100 points, defenseman.
It's ridiculous.
Crummy team. It is.
Wow. He'll be traded in the summer.
Oh, yeah? Think so?
For sure?
I don't know for sure.
Well, you just tell me what you hear, not what you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, think about it for a second. You're San Jose. You got a ton of money left on his deal. He's once again at the height of how good he is.
Yeah. Even if you get someone to take him.
Like, you're not trading him this summer?
Oh,
Is there a better time to trade him?
But if I have a no move clause and I don't care about winning and I live in San Jose,
I ain't waving.
I'm tough to move.
Well,
when they ask me to wave, I'm waving back.
Yeah. I'll
things
be right
get ugly.
here.
Things get ugly.
I think, what about Quinn Hughes, boys?
I'm not leaving.
What's he got, like 70 points?
He's got 72 points. He's a
Oh, my God.
plus 18 on
Rick
the
Tocchet. Put him on the list.
on the Vancouver Canucks, playing 25 minutes a night. But the thing is, they don't suck anymore.
Boy,
They're now one of the best teams in the league.
West has been rallying, boys.
Yeah, they don't suck anymore.
Okay. Another guy, Allmark.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Buffalo gets
He
rid
should
of him.
probably be number 1, honestly.
37-6 is his record.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, he's got a 188.
Come on.
Yeah,
It's
188.
gonna really sting, when he sucks in the playoffs.
Oh, it's going to hurt really bad.
Guess what, Kipper? There is no chance anything bad happens to the perfect Boston Bruins. They won the President's Trophy.
Oh, we
They're
know
going
what you're
all.
doing, Sammy.
No, they're perfect.
Ooh,
They
there it
are
is, the jinx
perfect.
right there.
Little
They are
speed
perfect.
wobbles, boys? They just lost to Nashville. Columbus just took them no OT. Just a little. Going awfully fast.
Did you see
notice
the overtime last night?
that? No.
Oh my God, the goal that Pasternak scored
Oh, I didn't see
on
that.
poor old Michael Hutchison. Like he was
On a
just
Hutchin net?
On
Yeah.
a Lindholm feed.
unbelievable pass, tape to tape. Like sitting on my couch, I was like, oh, what a pass! Like snapped it.
Hutchison should have to give Connor Bedard 10% of every day's NHL pay he gets right now.
And it was like a hair, a sliver, and somewhere there's offside, right?
Yeah,
it was just so perfect.
tight. And then he just cut to the backhand, and poor old Hutch was just lying on his back, and the puck's in the net. I'm gonna go one more player here, boys, and I'm gonna go Ilya Samsonov.
Leafy.
No.
Leafy.
What are you talking about?
I can hear that.
This man was non-tendered, sent away by his team,
6
and he's
and
got
7 on the road. 6 and 7.
he's got
on the road.
He's got a top 5 goals against average in the league.
6 and 7 on the road.
He's getting paid $1.8 million.
Homer.
That's all right. They at least have home ice advantage in the first round. No problem. Second round, we'll talk about Murray.
I would be right there with you if he just could have been 2 games over 500 on the road.
Nah, he's a pleasant surprise.
Okay.
In Kyle Dubas's wettest of dreams, he wouldn't have played this well.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Good numbers.
What else do I got here? Sorry, just let me get I had a really good one queued up. Give me 2 seconds. Can you play the Jeopardy music for me?
I used to be able to play it on my cheeks.
No, it's okay. This isn't really a question, but I wanted to make sure both of you guys saw the picture of Cam McDavid.
Yes. What is that? That's real? Cam McDavid, Connor has a twin
All
brother.
he has to do is just go into the bars and just, tell everybody he's Connor and he's never paying for anything.
Oh, the shame if you did that. The great shame.
Okay, this is the one I wanted to ask. I picked it up. Who steps up and scores a big goal against Tampa Bay outside of the big four guys?
Engvall.
Pardon?
Yarn dog.
Yarn dog.
Yarn dog. Yeah.
Kipper, honestly. Not Engvall.
Yeah, Lafferty.
Oh, Lafferty.
You know what it probably is the guy who's been played a ton all year and is like gets bullied now by the fan base. Probably Kerfoot. Yardfoot and Kercraw. He shot a couple in lately. He's probably the guy.
Hey, I wanted to ask you guys a follow-up on Brooks Koepka because he went to a podium off of a live. Bubba Watson's behind him. And did you hear his comments?
No.
He basically doubled up on everything he did. He's like, do we have that?
We have it. Yeah, we have
play
it.
Play
Yeah,
it.
we play.
Oh my God, amazing.
What's your beef with Aaron Ekblad, and did you bring the cone from home?
I did not bring the cone, and he gave up a bad goal.
That was Bubba
it was
Watson
a bad
asking.
pass in the third. I'm a diehard Peace fan, and he
Peace.
gave up a bad goal.
What sport is this? Hockey.
Really? Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, he gave up a bad goal at the I think midway through the third, and I just felt like if they didn't win that game, we weren't going to win. They weren't going to make the playoffs. So, dedicated fan, man.
So what did you do? What is a cone he's talking about? What
It's
cone?
Bubba Watson.
There was a cone. There was a cone that was just outside, so I
Were
was holding it up.
you hydrated that night?
Absolutely.
Now we're getting to it.
Absolutely. But yeah, listen, I'm a diehard fan.
I'm
Whether
gonna
they
look the clip up. Is it good?
do it when
Is your shirt on or off?
it's on.
Okay.
It's on.
Ish.
I ain't gonna look at it then.
But yeah, look, I'm a diehard fan, man. When they do something good, I'm the first one to cheer them. I'll text these guys, but diehard,
Did you not
man.
text him?
I didn't text him. No, I did not.
Old Ekblad did not like it.
I gotta say,
I didn't know he was that dedicated, to be honest with you.
I respect it not a lot more, but a touch
There's
more.
no worse fan than
See,
I'm a real
but
fan, so
he-
that's why I'm
he-
nasty to the players.
He doesn't
That's such
realize, like, he doesn't, he just thinks he's Joe Schmo at the game,
That's endearing.
which is really strange, but you're right, maybe a little endearing.
yeah, that he, sees himself as a fan of the team or whatever. But like, that's the worst kind of fan who's like, oh, a thing went wrong, so an integral part of our team, I buried the guy publicly and tried
Yeah.
to embarrass him.
I'd still punch him.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Well, and Ekblad is not pleased. So,
No, not pleased.
Anyways,
also, first time I've ever heard the Panthers called the Peas.
Me too. That
Which
makes-
we may be doing on the show
The
going
Pea-
forward.
The Peas.
the P.
The Peas
Go
are
Peas,
chasing
go.
Pittsburgh.
God.
It's a pee-pee chase over there.
I don't know.
Maybe we won't go. with
Maybe
that.
you still should apologize to him and take him out golfing.
He won't.
I'd go if he apologized to me. I'd like to play 18 holes with him.
I wouldn't mind watching him mash the ball.
Shoot 78.
All right, Gord Stellick, Doug McLean, Colby Armstrong on this Off the Rails Friday. I think it proved to be true, right?
Yeah, it was not on the rails.
Have a safe weekend, everybody. We're right back here on Monday. Real Kyper and Bourne.